Hello everybody, and welcome to the documentation to my material builder package. The purpose of this product is to improve the workflow for building materials in Blender. However, just because I believe it will make it more efficient, there is still a learning curve. So you may be asking, how do I actually use the package? In this video, I'll help you understand the basics of the package by diving into different categories of nodes. You can find a link to the product below. Masks are black and white textures that can be indicated by their yellow outputs. They can be seen as defining values, 0 for black and 1 for white. In other words, off or on. For example, plugging the mask output of a noise double node into the mask input of a mask edges node will result in that texture defining the variation in width for the edge detection. White on the texture is adding a total of 1 for the thickness of the mask edges, and black is adding nothing, and gray everything in between. In the same way, if you add a mask from the wires node, you can plug it into the mask input of a displacement add mask, resulting in the white of the texture adding to the geometry. And of course, a gradient from black to white will result in a softer look, because it's capturing everything in between those 2 points. And usually on these group nodes, I have some values which can remap the 0 and 1. So for instance, if we change the max, it will change the 1 value to something like 5, and so on. And of course, we can also change the minimum value as well. Vectors are color information that can be used to map textures onto your objects, and are indicated by the violet outputs. There's a lot of math that can explain what the colors actually mean, but we don't need to care about that here. Just know that it controls the rotation, location, and scale of whatever texture is plugged into. One creative use of this is my noise transform group node, which when plugged into a texture such as checkers, will use the underlying noise inside to add noise to the checkers. In a similar way, with my mask transform node, you can transform any texture using another, just by plugging it into the mask. This gives us much more control. And you can see how this gives us variation in the stripes, by transforming one wave texture with another. Shaders are the surface or subsurface and transmission of an object. They directly interact with the scene and vice versa. My shaders have a long list of features stacked on top of each other. The length of these nodes can be quite intimidating. However, once you understand one shader, you'll understand the others, because they generally work the same way. So let's dive into it. The brightness slider controls the brightness of the material. It will slide between the minimum and maximum value specified below it. Now we can plug a mask edges node into the brightness slider. And now that mask is controlling where the brightness goes. Now for the second section of the node, we have the reflections. We can change the color, which we usually don't need, but just in case. And we have the Fresnel and the intensity right here. Change it to a black, that way the reflections are more isolated. The Fresnel controls how stretched out the reflections are, and the intensity controls how intense or bright the reflections are, rather than the size. The minimum and maximum values control the range for the slider. On to the next section, we have the roughness. But in addition to one slider for that, I added a mask roughness feature. I'll add a noise doubled node into the input, after increasing the contrast to make the effect more visible. And so again, white on the texture is adding roughness, and black on the texture is adding nothing, and gray everything in between. However, the roughness slider below the influence slider is controlling the roughness on top of it all as an added layer, while the influence slider controls how much of the texture is being used on the overall effect. Next up, we have the rotation. Anything plugged into the mask rotation will affect the rotation of the reflections. So I'm just adding a speckled double node for the input. This is great for subtle grime effects and little splotches and dust particles, especially if you don't want to use bump to avoid long render times. It's a perfect solution for small effects like this. And of course, you can control the rotation of the reflections. And last up, we have the normal input. You can plug a bump map or normal map into it, and it works just fine. I usually use it in conjunction with the rotation as well, though. Alright, I think that's enough for you guys to understand the package so far. I look forward to seeing future videos on this as well. All right, have a great day. Bye-bye.